P5, the Hierophant. Vav, V, U, or W, value 6, means nail or hook, something to join the parts of a building together, therefore associative, like Gimel. Also something to support hanging objects, therefore something on which other things depend. A nail is a fastening, a link, a means of union. As a means of support, it is linked in thought and language with such ideas as aid, assistance, sustenance, furtherance, and ministry. It will be seen presently that these ideas are not only directly connected with the occult meanings of Vav, but also with the symbolism of the Hierophant. In Hebrew, the letter Vav is the equivalent of the English and. Thus, the grammatical use of the letter is derived directly from its literal meaning. The conjunction and links together a series of nouns describing various objects, as apples and pears and lemons. It also introduces dependent clauses in a sentence. In Hebrew, the letter Vav is used in precisely the same way. Thus, like a nail, it binds the parts of a sentence together, and clauses or phrases introduced by it hang from it, like pictures supported by hooks driven into a wall. Now, the central thought here is union, and this is the exact English translation of the Sanskrit noun yoga. The same Sanskrit noun is the root of our word yoke, and some authorities are of the opinion that the original hieroglyphic symbol for Vav was a picture of a yoke, such as is used for harnessing oxen. Yoga is a system of practice whereby the personal consciousness is linked to the universal conscious energy. Its object is direct, first-hand experience of those phases of reality which are the basis of all religions. The founders of religions are persons who have such experiences, and the contention of practical occultists is that this kind of experience may be repeated whenever the right conditions are provided. It is not a capricious gift from on high. It is not miraculous. Rare it may be, but it is perfectly natural, and a human being who addresses himself earnestly to preparing himself for this kind of experience will find what he seeks. We shall find, presently, that the Hierophant in tarot is a symbol of the mode of conscious activity which takes form in such experiences. Hearing, which unites man to man by speech, and man to God by the word of the inner voice, is the sense attributed to Vav. Jesus said often, "He that hath ears to hear, let him hear." This is a technical formula of ageless wisdom. It refers to the development of the interior sense of hearing just mentioned. In Sanskrit, the noun sruti, literally hearing, is the term for revelation. It alone can remove that nescience which is innate in human nature, says one ancient book. Similarly, the prophets of Israel declare again and again, "Thus saith the Lord," as if they were reporting things heard. Two of them, Samuel and Elijah, were directly aware of the divine presence as a voice. What was true then is true now. Knowledge of the higher aspects of reality comes to us through the soundless sound of an inner voice, which often speaks as plainly as any voice heard with the physical ear. The reason is that the hearing centers in the brain are stimulated by higher rates of vibration, which serve as means of communication between ourselves and more advanced thinkers. Many persons have flashes of this experience, and our recognition that this is so is expressed by the oft-repeated statement, quote, "Something seemed to say to me," end quote. Triumphant and eternal intelligence is the name of the mode of consciousness corresponding to Vav. It is triumphant because it gives assurance of the ultimate victory of the life power over all apparent obstacles now seeming to stand in the way of the completion of the great work. It is eternal because it not only carries with it a positive conviction of immortality, lifting personal consciousness out of the limitations of time into the realization of the freedom of eternity, but also because the revelations of the inner voice enable us to solve particular problems by applying principles which, as soon as we perceive them, we recognize as being true, yesterday, today, and forever. Taurus, the bull, a fixed earthy sign, is attributed to Vav. It is ruled by the planet Venus, key 3, the Empress, and is the sign of the exaltation of the moon, key 2, the High Priestess. The name of the sign itself shows a secret correspondence with the higher spiritual things, and with superconsciousness, inasmuch as Aleph, the bull, is the letter corresponding to Ruach, the life breath, pictured in tarot by the Fool. The voice of the Hierophant gives verbal form to the vision of the Fool. Revelation, key 5, is the communication of the transcendent knowledge of superconsciousness insofar as that knowledge can be put into words. Astrologically, too, the sign Taurus is representative of latent powers and energies, of secretiveness and reserve, ideas clearly suggested by the title and symbolism of the Hierophant. Furthermore, Taurus rules the neck, which is the link between head and body. And in the neck is located a psychic center dominated by the Venus vibration. The exaltation of the moon in Taurus indicates that the powers of subconsciousness, especially the powers of memory and of recollection, have their highest manifestation in the mental activities pictured by key 5. In our color scale, Taurus is red-orange. Its musical tone is C sharp, or D flat. Southeast, the direction attributed to Vav, is represented on the cube of space by the vertical line connecting the lower southeast corner with the upper southeast corner. This edge of the cube is also the line along which the southern and eastern faces of the cube are conjoined. In tarot, south is related to key 19, the sun, and east is related to key 3, the Empress. Here is suggested a blending of solar and Venusian qualities. The sun is a great center of what Hindus called prana. The Venusian vibration is that which manifests in mental imagery. Occultly, the blending of these two vibrations is the mingling of the universal conscious energy with the imaginative, generative powers of subconsciousness. In the activity symbolized by the Hierophant, these two phases of the life power are combined. Hierophant means revealer of sacred things. It was the name of the chief officer in the Eleusinian mysteries, and signifies that which makes known the hidden import of the appearances whereby we are surrounded. In many versions of the tarot, this key is named the Pope, but Dr. Waite rightly says that this is a particular application of the more general office that he symbolizes. On the other hand, Pope really means father, and when we consider the relation of key 5 to the Kabbalistic tree of life, we notice that the path of Vav is the one which begins in wisdom, the second Sephira, and descends to mercy, the fourth Sephira. Thus, since the Sephira wisdom is also known as Ab, the father, it becomes evident that the Hierophant, as an expression of that Sephira's outflowing energy, is not altogether misnamed when it is called the Pope. We do not agree with Dr. Waite that the Hierophant is, quote, the ruling power of external religion, exoteric orthodox doctrine, the outer side of the life which leads to the doctrine. End quote. On the contrary, he is the pontifex, the bridge maker who provides a connecting link between outer experience and interior illumination. He sits on a throne between two stone pillars. These and the throne, together with the background, are gray, a color associated with wisdom, because gray is the tint resulting from equal mixture of any two complementary colors. Since color complements are also opposites, gray stands for the perfect balance of all pairs of opposites, and this is the practical aspect of wisdom, the second Sephira. Thus, the gray background of key 5 affords a very definite clue to the position of this key on the tree of life, since, in colored representations of the tree, the second Sephira is painted gray. The design on the capitals of the pillars is a phallic symbol of union. The pillars themselves repeat the motif of duality and suggest the laws of association represented by the pillars of the high priestess. The throne is also of stone, and the word stone has a very special meaning in the Bible and in the Kabbalah. In Hebrew, stone is ABN, Aben. The first two letters of this word, Aleph and Beth, are the letters of the noun Ab, meaning father. And this is one of the Kabbalistic names for the second Sephira. The last two letters, Beth and Nun, spell the word Ben, meaning son. And this is the Kabbalistic name for the sixth Sephira, beauty, which, as you can see from the diagram of the tree, is the central point and, so to say, pivot of that diagram. Thus in the word ABN, Aben, as Kabbalists say, quote, the names of the Father and the Son, of wisdom and beauty, are conjoined, end quote. And this is the main reason for the many symbolic uses of the word stone throughout the scriptures. At the back of the throne, on either side of the Hierophant's head, are two horned circles representing the sign Taurus. The same Taurus symbol is shown also on the throne behind the Hierophant in the rider pack, but it is drawn in such a way that few persons unacquainted with the occult meanings of Vav would be likely to notice it. This partial concealment may have been due to the fact that Dr. Waite seems to have been somewhat concerned lest he should expose the deeper occult significance of tarot to any but initiated students. The crown is a triple tiara, like the Pope's crown. It is of gold, symbolizing radiant energy and wisdom. It is ornamented with 3 rows of trefoils. Top row, 3. Middle row, 5. Bottom row, 7. In the rider pack, the middle row has 7 and the bottom row has 5. The total number is 15, the numeral value of the Hebrew divine name Jah, Yod, He. This name is that associated by Kabbalists with the second Sephira, and affords another clue to the attribution of key 5 to the path joining the second Sephira to the fourth. Since any trefoil represents the number 3, 15 of them stands for 3 times 15, or 45, number of the name ADM, Adam. Here is a reference to the Kabbalistic doctrine that man, or Adam, is God's image of himself, that the primary thought in the mind of God prior to all manifestation must be God's awareness of his own nature and powers, and that this awareness is the true image of God, designated by the name Adam. The 3 trefoils in the upper row designate the threefold nature of the life power. The 5 in the second row represents the 5 modes of manifestation, the quintessence and the 4 elements, or the 5 tattvas of Hindu philosophy, which are the subtle principles of sensation. The 7 in the bottom row correspond to the 7 spirits of God, to the 7 sacred planets, to the 7 alchemical metals, and to the 7 chakras, or interior stars of the yoga schools. Here we have also the 3 principles of the alchemists, their 5 modes of manifestation of the one thing, and their 7 so-called metals. In the rider pack, the tiara is surmounted by a black W, indicating the correspondence of key 5 to the letter Vav. In the BOTA, Builders of the Adytum version, the ornament at the top of the crown is a small sphere, symbolizing the archetypal world. Below it, the 3 rows of trefoils in descending order symbolize the creative, formative, and material worlds. The outer robe of the Hierophant is red-orange, the color corresponding to Taurus. It has, for trimming, a border of blue-green, complementary to red-orange, and corresponding to the sign Scorpio. The sign opposite and complementary to Taurus. At the neck, this outer garment is caught with a clasp in the form of a silver crescent. This is a symbol of the moon, which is exalted in Taurus. Its position at the Hierophant's throat is a reminder that Taurus rules that part of the human body. Under this red-orange robe, the Hierophant wears a garment of blue, like that of the High Priestess, and having the same meaning. Under this is a white garment, like that of the Fool, and having the same significance. The crosses on the Hierophant's white shoes refer to the union of male and female, positive and negative forces, and to the order 4 cross, which results from that union. Similar crosses are shown on the backs of his hands, on the carpet under his feet, and on the handles of the crossed keys. These 10 crosses repeat the symbolism of the 10 circular ornaments on the outer garment of the Fool. Hanging from the crown, behind the ears of the Hierophant, is an ornament in the form of a yoke. This refers to the primitive meaning of the letter Vav. It falls behind the Hierophant's ears to call attention to these organs of hearing. In his left hand, the Hierophant holds a yellow or golden staff. It symbolizes the dominion of the life power through the planes of nature, represented by the knob at the top, with 3 crossbars below it. These latter correspond in meaning to the 3 rows of trefoils on the tiara, and the knob at the top of the staff corresponds to the circular ornament at the top of the crown. The scepter is yellow or golden to show that the power exerted in the Hierophant's dominion is the power of the universal radiant energy. The crossed keys at the Hierophant's feet are the familiar symbols of the power of the papacy, yet they have a deeper meaning. One is silver, the other golden. They stand for the solar and lunar currents of radiant energy which, as nerve currents in the human body, are utilized as keys to open the inner doors leading to higher modes of awareness. The golden key is the key of heaven, wherein the sun is ruler. The silver key is associated with hell because of the correspondence between the moon and Hecate, whom the Greeks worshipped as a deity of the underworld. Thus, the silver key relates to the powers of sub-consciousness, and the golden key represents the powers of super-consciousness. The square dais suggests the number 4, symbol of order and measurement, as if to suggest that however far beyond our present experience the higher consciousness may go, it rests on a solid basis of fact and reason. The dais is covered with a red-orange carpet, corresponding by this color to Taurus. The 4 circles on it enclose crosses, the Venus symbol folded in upon itself. They represent the manifestation of Yod-He-Vav-He in the 4 worlds. Black and white checker work at the edges of the carpet remind us of the Masonic mosaic pavement, which represents the alternation of light and darkness in the manifestation of the life power. The priests, kneeling before the Hierophant, wear robes which repeat the motif of the flowers in the magician's garden. Their robes are ornamented with yellow palliums, symbols of the yoke or union. These are yellow because The yoke is that of Mercury, or intellectual perception. The priest who wears lilies personifies thought. The other represents desire. Their attitude of attentive listening refers to hearing. The number of this key, as you have learned, is that of law, of adaptation, of religion, and of man. Psychologically, the Hierophant represents intuition, which follows reasoning and adds to it. Intuition is subconscious response to reason, whereby, through laws of association at work below the conscious level, thought relations, which go beyond the results attained by reason, are attained. Usually, these are perceived by interior hearing. Intuition, it should be noted, means literally inner tuition.